Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will offer an update on the case of Audrey Hale. I covered this case when it first occurred. The authorities have released a 48-page report which covers the backstory behind this tragedy, including answers to questions about the mysterious Manifesto frequently mentioned in the media. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Audrey Hale was born on March 24, 1995, and lived in Nashville, Tennessee. She resided with her parents on Brightwood Drive. From 2001 to 2005, she attended a Presbyterian school called The Covenant, before attending a magnet school for the arts. She graduated from high school in 2014. In 2022, she earned a bachelor's degree in graphic design. Audrey worked as a pet sitter and a delivery person for a grocery shopping service. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On March 27, 2023, at 8 a.m., Audrey left her house carrying a large duffel bag. This bag contained firearms, ammunition, tactical gear, and stuffed animals. She drove her 2014 Honda Fit to the parking lot of a shooting range that she had visited before. There, she put on a tactical vest and assembled and loaded 3 firearms: a Leadstar Grunt 15 AR pistol chambered in .556 NATO, a Kel-Tec Sub 2000 chambered in 9mm Luger, and a Smith & Wesson M&P Shield 2.0 chambered in 9mm Luger. Audrey left the shooting range at 9:33 a.m. and drove to The Covenant, arriving at 9:53 a.m. Again, this is the Presbyterian school that she attended years earlier. She parked on the west side of the building and sent a goodbye message to a friend through Instagram Messenger. Audrey indicated that the friend would probably hear about her on the news, and she left more than enough evidence behind to make sense of her behavior. Audrey exited her vehicle at 10:09 a.m. She had the 3 firearms with her. At 10:10 a.m., Audrey fired the AR pistol at the doors of the school, shattering the glass. A 61-year-old custodian heard the noise and approached the area. Once he saw Audrey, he tried to run away, but she shot him. He was mortally wounded. Smoke from the muzzle of Audrey's weapon activated a smoke detector and set off the fire alarm for the building. As the students and the faculty started to evacuate, Audrey ascended a stairwell and encountered a 61-year-old teacher and 3 9-year-old students. Audrey fired on them, mortally wounding the teacher and killing the students. Audrey then patrolled the hallways of the school looking for more targets. She found the school's 60-year-old executive principal in a hallway and shot her to death. Audrey resumed her search activities and looked in several offices, but she did not find anyone. She ended up shooting 2 television screens, as well as doors leading to classrooms. Audrey then went upstairs into the sanctuary and fired into a stained glass window. This was at 10:21 a.m. 2 minutes earlier, at 10:19 a.m., police officers arrived at the school and started searching for the shooter. Audrey approached a large window in the second-floor lobby and saw officers exiting their vehicles in the parking lot. She opened fire on them through the large window. During 2 minutes of sustained fire, Audrey disabled 2 police vehicles by striking tires, but nobody was injured. As some officers were pinned down behind their vehicles, others entered the school and followed the sound of the gunfire. They located Audrey on the second floor and approached her. She did not hear the officers for a few reasons. The fire alarm was sounding, Audrey was firing her own weapon, and she was wearing earplugs. 2 police officers shot and killed Audrey as she stood at the large window firing at the officers outside. After reconstructing the crime, the police concluded that Audrey had fired 152 rounds during the attack, and she still had 272 cartridges on her person. Most of these cartridges were loaded into magazines. Investigators concluded that Audrey worked alone, and with her death, there was no further threat to the community. Now moving to my analysis. The primary question in this case is about Audrey's motive. Why did she carry out this attack? There has been a lot of speculation on this topic, including this idea that Audrey killed because she was transgender. Audrey was a biological female and identified as a lesbian. The authorities concluded she was not transitioning. She occasionally used the name Aiden, but that is not enough to categorize her as transgender. Let's take a look at what the police found during the course of their investigation. Audrey had a vast collection of items which, in theory, could reveal something about her motive. For example, there were 16 notebooks containing handwritten entries, photographs, stickers, charts, diagrams, and drawings. In total, there were 1,299 pages of content. The entries spanned a period of about 5.5 years, from August 2017 through March 2023. In addition, the police found assorted folders and loose documents, 7 composition books and sketchbooks containing artwork, 8 memory storage devices, these were flash drives, 6 cell phones, 3 laptops, an iPod, 3 video cassette tapes, 1 DVD, a Facebook account, and an Instagram account. After the attack, there was a lot of speculation that Audrey had produced a manifesto. Certainly, this manifesto would shed light on her motive. After all, that is the point of a manifesto. Investigators concluded that, although Audrey left behind a lot of written work, none of it qualified as a manifesto. There was no single document which explained why she killed innocent people. To find her motive, one must examine the vast quantity of information she left behind. She documented her plans more than most offenders in her category. Here's what could be learned by taking a look at Audrey's work, mental health records, and other evidence. Audrey's documented mental health history started in 2001 when she was 6 years old. She experienced developmental delays and was taken for a mental health assessment. The clinician indicated that Audrey was behind in emotional processing and in asserting herself in social situations. The assessment did not indicate that Audrey had autism spectrum disorder. Due to her developmental delays, Audrey started at the Covenant a year late. She had a good time at this school and considered these years the happiest of her childhood. When she transferred to the magnet school to start 5th grade, she experienced a culture shock. Most of her classmates at the Covenant were white, but now she was interacting with classmates who were primarily from minority groups. They bullied her, believing she was a rich white girl. In the 7th grade, things temporarily improved as Audrey was accepted by her basketball teammates. During the 8th grade, things went back to normal as her teammates advanced to high school, and she was once again targeted by bullies for being white. When Audrey went to high school, she discovered that the girls she had been friends with had developed new interests. She was unable to establish meaningful relationships with her former teammates. Plagued by loneliness and self-doubt, Audrey's grades suffered. In 2011, Audrey's mother once again took her to see a mental health clinician. This psychotherapist treated Audrey on a regular basis for several years. An assessment revealed that Audrey had major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, social phobia, anger problems, and was immature. She was not diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, although Audrey believed she had this disorder. In school, Audrey's performance increased a little bit, but she was still immature. She was not fitting in with her classmates. She had romantic interest in various female classmates, but did not have success in her pursuits. After high school, Audrey went to college, even though she didn't want to, because her mother insisted. Audrey continued to live at home. Her experience in college was similar to high school. She failed to gain the acceptance of her classmates and was lonely. She carried resentment for her former basketball teammates and intensely tracked the events of their lives on social media. This included downloading many images of them. She fantasized regularly about starting romantic relationships with them, but feared that would never happen. At the suggestion of her psychotherapist, Audrey started journaling. This explains why she filled up so many notebooks with biographical stories. Audrey's mental health symptoms only grew worse over time, including anxiety, depression, social phobias, rage, and feelings of isolation. In Audrey's mind, her stuffed animals were her only true friends and would never abandon her. She assigned them names and personalities. She took them with her wherever she went. These stuffed animals were incorporated into her writings and drawings. They were like characters in these stories. Audrey wrote about how she shoplifted from various stores. She would steal toys, video games, and art supplies. She justified her actions by saying this was necessary to alleviate her anxiety. Audrey started making entries which were packed with expletives, referring to them as rage storms. They contained her complaints about how people believed different things than she did, like political beliefs, how she was being discriminated against for being autistic, even though she wasn't, and how she was being ostracized by black people. Eventually, these rage storms revealed homicidal fantasies, especially against people to whom she was attracted. She continued to track women online and was jealous of their romantic success. Like when she saw images of these people with a lover, that really made her angry. Audrey became fascinated with documentaries about school shootings and collected a lot of information about them, including images of the offenders, their weapons, their mental health information, and the number of people they killed. She did not care about their motives. Audrey was particularly influenced by the Columbine shooters and found this to be the true source of her inspiration. She was in awe over how these killers were notorious, and she believed they had become gods. In the summer of 2018, Audrey started writing about how she could kill several people at the same time. This would result in her no longer being ignored. By December 2018, Audrey actively planned an attack against the magnet school that she attended. Again, this was a middle school. She attended this school after the Covenant. Audrey created extremely detailed plans for this attack. Audrey told her psychotherapist that she was having homicidal fantasies, but claimed that she had no plan. She wasn't serious about them. They were just fantasies. Alarmed, the clinician ordered a mental health assessment. No concerns about homicide were detected in the evaluation. However, due to symptoms like depression and anxiety, Audrey spent 8 weeks in an intensive outpatient program. Audrey made a little bit of progress after this program, but quickly slid back into what she referred to as the dark abyss. She later created a logo bearing the same name. It became a symbol of the attack that she would carry out. She put it on a t-shirt that she wore during the shooting. Planning for the mass killing resumed. Audrey purchased her first firearm in October 2020. Later, she would buy several more. Eventually, Audrey decided not to target the magnet school. She grew concerned because most of the students there were black, and she did not want to be thought of as a racist. This would steal her glory by harming her image and allow others to rewrite her motive. In April 2021, Audrey selected a new target, the Covenant School. She listed 3 reasons. There were not as many black people there, targeting a Christian school would bring her more notoriety, and the location was more isolated, meaning the police would take longer to get there. Audrey conducted reconnaissance of the school, including a faculty-guided tour, which she obtained by saying she wanted to reminisce. In June 2021, Audrey's mother discovered that Audrey purchased a copy of the book The Columbine Diaries. She alerted Audrey's psychotherapist, who, along with Audrey's parents, insisted that Audrey give up her firearms. Her parents would keep them in a safe place. Considering how Audrey lived with her parents, she had no choice but to agree. She was furious over losing her weapons, especially at her psychotherapist. During the next month, July, the weapons were returned to Audrey with the understanding that she was going to sell them. She sold 2, but she kept the rest. After this, Audrey was more careful about concealing information about her plan. She did not want anyone to find out anything else about what she was doing. Eventually, she grew paranoid that she would be involuntarily hospitalized and her firearms would be taken away. Audrey delayed her plans so she could practice at a shooting range. As I mentioned, she carried out the attack on March 27, 2023. In light of all this new information, what do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Audrey was self-centered, impulsive, irresponsible, artistic, creative, intelligent, angry, aggressive, violent, insecure, vulnerable, arrogant, cold, callous, vindictive, petty, immature, repulsive, grandiose, socially awkward, falsely believed she was special, and had a sense of entitlement. She developed homicidal fantasies and later a homicidal plan to get revenge for perceived injustices and to become notorious. She framed her motive as endless despair, but it was really endless narcissism. For example, she believed that the deaths of her murder victims were necessary to give her life meaning. Audrey was the true victim of the attack that she perpetrated. She was more intelligent and more creative than anyone else. Audrey wanted everything handed to her without doing any work. She believed that women should submit to her romantic desires. Audrey should be accepted by everyone, and she believed that she was a deity, or at least could become a deity by carrying out the attack. When news of the heinous attack came out, some people started assigning motives that aligned with their political beliefs. For example, Audrey must have carried out the attack because she subscribed to the transgender ideology, or Christians must have judged her too harshly for being a lesbian, which is why she attacked a Christian school. As it turns out, these explanations were incorrect. This tragedy was brought on by narcissism. Where this narcissism originated could be debated. Was it caused by bullying, romantic rejection, isolation, or a sense of inferiority due to having mental health symptoms? Maybe all those factors contributed, maybe none of them did. Either way, Audrey was 100% focused on her own needs and wants. In my opinion, a major motivating factor for Audrey was her belief that women should be interested in her romantically. Her rage storms were highly focused on rejection and consistent with her being an incel. People sought out a novel motive, but as it turns out, just like Audrey, her motivation was nothing special. She was just another narcissist who took everything personally and sought revenge to ease her own pain. Audrey believed that she could force the world to recognize her greatness, to rewrite rejection into reverence, and to escape insignificance through infamy. Similar to every wannabe deity who resorts to violence, Audrey only demonstrated the dangers of narcissism. Any power in the hands of a narcissist is too much. Those are my thoughts in the case of Audrey Hale. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. One of the things that really struck me as interesting about this case as it relates to how we can think about narcissism is the persistence that Audrey Hale demonstrated. She had many opportunities to give up her homicidal plan. Therapists were wondering what was going on with her. They were concerned. One even sent her for an assessment. Her parents were concerned about her behavior. There were many, many opportunities where Audrey could have said to herself, okay, maybe this isn't the best idea. People are taking my guns away. People are worried about me. Maybe those people could be right. Perhaps there is wisdom located somewhere outside myself. Evidently, this never really occurred to Audrey in any meaningful way. The entire time along, she insisted that she was correct. Her motive was just. Her reasoning made sense. In her mind, she deserved to kill so that others would recognize how she had been isolated and bullied and ostracized and excluded during her life. Everything was about Audrey. This persistence piece isn't something that we always see with narcissism. A narcissist is not necessarily more likely to be persistent than someone else. When persistence is combined with narcissism, it becomes particularly dangerous. It amplifies the potential damage caused by the narcissistic characteristics like grandiosity and the false belief that one is special. Audrey was absolutely committed to her plan for many years. She wrote over 1,000 pages about her anger and her feelings and her thoughts on revenge. So this was as premeditated as a crime can be, carefully planned over the course of years.